Hi everybody, and let's go ahead with the series 3 key ingredients for a successful food and beverage supply chain. Today's second episode is dedicated to investigation. Once again, a warm welcome to Steve Dombroski, Director of Consumer Markets at QAD, and Ludovic Lezenven, Principal Business Consultant at QAD DynaSys. Hi guys.
Hello, Dorothy.
Hello, Dorothy.
So I have some questions for you today. What data can be used to make supply chain decisions? Where does it come from? And how can one manage and analyze this information?
Well, Dorothy, I think I will jump in and start at the very beginning for us here. We recently, through a combination of blog and these webinar series, introduced everyone to the concept that food and beverage supply chain is very similar to a food or beverage product. For a food or beverage product to be successful, it needs some key ingredients that are added to the process at critical points. And the supply chain is very similar. The supply chain is not a static element. It's vital, it's vibrant, it moves, it has to flow with events. And to make it work right, you have to add ingredients at certain points. And so in discussions with how to help manufacturers operate and make their supply chains more efficient, Ludovic and I were talking, we said, you know, there really are some major ingredients that go into managing the supply chain. The first one we spoke about in our last webinar was collaboration. You know, you need to discuss and you need to talk about information throughout not just your internal organization, but your external organization. If you don't communicate and the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, you're not going to be very successful. Well, the next ingredient we want to talk about actually is investigation. You know, when you talk about collaboration, you know, what are you collaborating? You know, you need to have information, you need to have certain things to talk about to disseminate through the organization. And to do that, you have to find data. Now, in today's world, especially with the technology we have today, you can get buried alive under data. Data can actually turn into quicksand if you're not careful. So you have to be able to find the data you need when you need it. Most manufacturers will tell you that if you have to wait for data more than a few minutes, that data is going to be obsolete. That data is not going to be relevant anymore. So you need to be able to get that data quickly. There's a phrase out there that says knowledge is power. The more reliable your data is, it's going to enable you to make better, faster, and quicker decisions today than ever before. So today's technology, like I just mentioned, will give you tons of data, but it's very rich. And it gives you some tools such as Industry 4.0, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, EDI, electronic data interchange, just some of these sophisticated tools that an organization has at its disposal to access and relay information. And this data will allow businesses to communicate and interact better than ever before. And just like ingredients, it's the ingredients that can go through the different processes of the supply chain, through the distribution and working with customers, through the internal manufacturing, and all the way back through procurement and with your suppliers. So to touch on a couple things real quick before we have Ludovic actually take you through some of these technologies, let's talk about kind of how this investigation can work, and then he'll tie it all together from a concept to an actual physical type of approach. You know, we always talk about first food and beverage manufacturers. The goal is to get the right product at the right time and in the right quantity. And it has to be a quality and safe food item. You have to ensure that you have the most up-to-date data at all times to ensure that that supply chain flows, that supply chain moves. And we've introduced to you the concepts that, you know, there isn't one supply chain, there's two. There's the physical supply chain of the actual products that move upstream and down from raw materials all the way to a finished product. Well, it's the same thing with data. There's a digital supply chain, and that data has to be in sync with the physical supply chain. or else the supply chain is going to stop. It won't move. And we saw that through the pandemic when companies tried to change their supply network or their shipping network and get product to stores quicker and bypass certain DCs. Certain manufacturing systems were hard coded and wouldn't allow transactions to be processed from C to D without first going from B to C. And what happened is the supply chain stopped because somebody had to manually override that interaction and manually override that issue. So investigating your data is critical from the distribution piece to make sure that you have all the data you need from your customers, whether it be point of sale data, whether it be what even at the consumer level, which are your customers' customers. So it's very important. Now, as we go upstream and look at manufacturing, that information has to flow succinctly into the different processes that manufacturers use for the manufacturing process. So that data has to be turned into production information, into production schedules. So the manufacturers can know what to schedule and then what to order, because now you have to back through all the way to your suppliers. So it's very important and it's very critical that you're investigating the right information and the right stuff at the right time to get the right stuff at the right time to the customers and the consumers. Now, supply shortages of critical components has been in the news all across the world. The supply chains, everybody thought when things were going to start opening up and vaccines were rolling out and things were getting back to normal, that everything would be great. We wouldn't have the issues that we did at the beginning of the pandemic and during the pandemic with issues of supply and product. Well, that's not the case. Today, we have issues with supply. And part of that is getting things from A to B, but a lot of it is information, making sure that we have the data we need to manage those processes. We've had shipping issues, we have had issues with canal blockages, and some of those things can't be avoided. But again, if you had the right information and you were able to get the information at the right place, you might be able to have risk management things in place and you might be able to be prepared for those issues before they occur. So that's critical. So again, you want to make sure that that information is there. But with all the information that you have, you want to make sure that you have the processes to get the right information and make sure it's accurate. Because again, you know, the longer you wait for information means the less time you're going to have to make informed decisions. And today's supply chain is all about being quick, agile, adapted, and nimble. And hopefully you can employ the right tools together with the right processes to get this in place. So we kind of shaped the framework between these three key pieces of the supply chain: the distribution piece, the manufacturing piece, and then the procurement piece. And now what we're going to do is we're going to actually have Ludovic talk about some of the actual technologies and some of the things that can help you get this in place. So Ludovic, back to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Steve, for your insights. I totally agree. Yes, current supply chain plans require much more than just how much I sell of items for this customer. Clearly, today there is mass of data available that may bring value to anticipate your business and the activity. But it's really important to make the clear decision around which data to use and how to choose to use the most pertinent ones. And that's where DSCP, our digital supply chain planning solution, is designed to help you to bring to the business the data that is the right one, reaching the right targets with core responses in understanding and using those multiple data sets. It is true also that today, as the Internet of Things and machine learning deliver a great number of data points, supply chain solution must have a best-in-class capability to translate those data into trends and make decisions. Totally agree with that. And DSCP embeds today capability using one of the best of breed analytics provider on the market, Click, to help people in a company to clearly with an easy way, pleasant way to go through their data with a good user experience and supporting a responsive and accurate decision making. DCP embeds also 3 core machine learning experiences that are really important to dive into master data management. I will speak about mainly cluster analysis. It means how to analyze behavior of items into a business to make them evolve and find link and relation to gain in efficiency. I will speak also about complex sales behavior. In nowadays worlds, launching a new product is always a challenge. And it has to be done, otherwise you lose market share. So it's something that we see everywhere. You have to launch new recipes, new product, to test them, to keep the trend going up for your business and your activity. I will speak also about, as you mentioned, Steve, data integrity. And data integrity, when you speak about planning complex supply chain or complete supply chain from end to end, is really critical. If one data is out of scope just before it's not up to date, then everything is crap behind. So that's really critical to speak about data integrity and to speak about how to assure that there is this data integrity available anytime, anywhere. So if I get into the detail of cluster analysis, using DSCP today is clearly turning around how to segment items on markets. And when we look into machine learning capabilities, it's like representing and trying to find a photo of a cat on internet. A lot of engineers do that automatically. We do that with your data, your sales, your sell out, your sales through, your selling, with your data to efficiently analyze where you are on your business and how it's behaved. And then with this kind of data, we are able to group product. We are able to improve your plan accuracy because we find correlations, we found data that has sense, and we reduce then the planning effort of the team behind that. That's really important. Product clustering may be based on some of the major KPIs we could use, like, for example, the variability of your data, the trends that it's following, the seasonality that is evolving, the density of your history. Is it a very erratic sales or something that is a mass market product? And with all those information, we are able to clearly identify cluster and help you in driving those clusters in the right direction to make them more efficient in planification. I do remember one European-wide catering manufacturer. The company set up a basic planning process, based on simple ABC class foundation. So very simple. That help, of course, the planners to concentrate on what seems to be important for the business. Unfortunately, to replicate decision based on similar market behaviors, it's very difficult because some A product could have similar behavior as C product. It's just a question of weight inside the classification. So that's why it's really important to cross those information to make the planner more efficient in his job and in his way to take decisions and make decisions and help people to make decisions. DynaSys helps them to concentrate on what items and market behaviors are clearly the main characteristic and the main similar behavior. That's really important to go quicker, faster, and better in making those decisions. Of course, this will avoid, for example, in the case of a ramp down product or ramp up product, it will avoid extra scrap generation in terms of food. It's critical. Scrap is a kind of KPI that every manufacturer in food and beverage measure and follow because they try to avoid it as minimum or have it as minimum target, of course. And that's some of the things we go and play with. If I talk about complex sales behavior, we also implement solution in our solution using machine learning to identify some behavior according to specific life phase of the product. Clearly, when you introduce a new product in the market, what's going to happen? It's clearly a question of having information directly from the market about the number of doors open, the number of customers who are looking at your product. So many information coming from marketing, coming from the sellout data from analysts on the market. All that could be taken into account to clearly help you in driving the launch effect of a new product and the introduction of the product on the market. And that's very critical also nowadays in the business as product goes and change so fast nowadays. I can speak also about data integrity. And that's maybe one of the most important things when we start to work with our customers. So critical to have the right data at the right time, the right place, taking about the right information. That's really one of the most important things. And so inside the SCP, we implement also a solution around machine learning, looking at your data, looking at every data at once and trying to find out if some of them seems abnormal compared to what we expect. And we highlight, even if your master data structure, if your data seems aligned with what we expect, and help you to clearly return on your master data management and say, hey, please, why do we set those attributes and so on? I come back to this catering manufacturer, we spoke about just earlier, working on an ABC class basically, and we identify that in their way to introduce new product on the market, they were reusing just by habits, that's most horrific things to say. They were just reusing by habits some old way to launch items with the same kind of attributes, the same kind of markers to launch the new ones. Unfortunately, creates imperceptible misalignments day after day, month after month in their plan. And thanks the SCP capacity detects that it creates some misalignment compared to the market data when we consider those master data. So it's really important to drive the data integrity within all this movement, as you are mentioning, Steve. This movement of the supply, this movement of the market is clearly the most important things to follow. And considering data integrity inside of this is really important. So, Dorothy, in terms of conclusion, what could we say?
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Ludovic, and many thanks for attending. Please let us know should you have any questions. So we will conclude this series next Thursday at the same time. We will see that the third mandatory ingredient for a successful supply chain today is evaluation. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.